Christo Reyes. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to go over the top with Dean Winstanley.
Another first-round game on stage here in Riesa, East Germany at the International Darts Open, and it's one of the established faces on the PDC circuit. Not that fly. That's new. I'm not sure if Christo Reyes is going to try and skewer it. Of course he's not. He's gone downstairs for the treble 19. Doesn't want to hurt a fly. Dean Winstanley, anyway, over the top. A man who's made the finals of the two big BDO tournaments, the Lakeside World Championships and, of course, the World Masters. Taking on Christo Reyes, who has basically come from absolutely nowhere. Nobody had heard of him before he qualified for the World Championships at Ali Pali at Christmas. And since then, I mean, he couldn't really have done a great deal more. He's hit 2-9 darters. He won his tour card by virtue of his run to the last 16 at the World Championships. And I've been very impressed with him. I am Dan Dawson alongside me, Rod Harrington, a man I know has been equally impressed with Christo Reyes.
I certainly have, Dan. I mean, you said he was unknown. For us dart players not to have heard of him, that says it all. You know, normally you've always got wind. There's always a little bit of talk going on. You know, even with the soft hit players from the Far East, you know, Royden Lamb and Scott McKenzie, we heard all about them. But Christo Reyes, we never heard anything of. And the ironic thing about it is, a lot of the boys go to Tenerife. You know, and they still didn't say, well, there's this Christo Reyes out there. He had a bad player.
65.
So, yeah, literally come out of nowhere and been very impressive. And this is a tough match for Dean Winstanley. And, you know, Dean's starting to slip down the rankings. He needs to, you know, level out and get solid and start to move back up.
Well, look, this may just be Christo Reyes on a roll, having had that great run at the World Championships. He beat Wes Newton, albeit in a sudden death leg. He then beat Kevin Painter, again in a deciding set. And maybe this is just momentum. Maybe this will peter out and Christo Reyes doesn't really go anywhere in the world of darts. But he's hit 2-9 darters. Now, if you're just an also-ran, you probably don't hit 2-9 darters in a very short space of time. I mean, this guy's got some raw talent.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, to hit 2-9 darters, I mean, it isn't a fluke. 1-9 darter is not a fluke. You've got to be a great player to do it. As Dean Winstanley hit 180, and I was going to say he hit a 9 darter himself, and then went for a little run round Ali Pali, and we had to kill time for 10 minutes on Sky Sports.
Yeah, that was against Vincent van der Voort a couple of years ago. Lost that match. He lost to Vincent again this year.
I have to say, it was quite hilarious. You know, that just shows you the excitement.
65.
It means something. I mean, we see 9 darters all the time on the tour, but it means a lot to these guys. Well, it certainly meant a lot to Dino. He won a lot of money.
Well, he's got to be careful he doesn't knock that second dart out now.
100. In your require 130.
So Winstanley looking at 130 here. Ooh, well, that doesn't help him, so he can't finish it off now. And Reyes should get at least one dart at a double for a hold, a throw, and a 1-0 lead.
Yes, and Deanie's not really left a great number. I know he's going to get one dart at a double if he returns. Well, double 18 for Reyes.
40.
And Dean should have been coming really back to at least 2 darts. He may get 2 darts. If he gets the treble 20, now it's only going to be 1.
Christo, you require 36.
Well, as well as those 2 9-darters, Christo Reyes has beaten Michael Van Gerwen on the tour this year as he hits that double 18, and there aren't many people who've done that this year. Nobody's done it on the European Tour, of course. He's won the first 4 events.
Yes, and he will be here tomorrow.
Yeah, that's when the seeded
59
players enter the tournament, as ever with the European Tour. We have 48 players that start the tournament. 32 of them in action today. Half of those go through
100
to meet the 16 seeds who join at the second round stage. Second round played tomorrow, and then the final day, we've got the third round in the afternoon, quarterfinal, semi-final, and the final all in the evening. So that
60.
final day, you've got to win 4 games to go all the way and lift the trophy and win the £25,000 winner's prize.
It's a tough day, Dan. You know, endurance. I mean, you say dart players are not fit.
59.
You've got to have a certain level of fitness, and especially endurance, concentration-wise, is up there with anything. You know, Christo Reyes, you know, he's
140.
on average about 3 to 1 on, and Dean Winstanley around 9 to 4, 2 to 1. And I tell you what, there may be a few people that think that Dean Winstanley could be some value here. He's got pedigree of throwing some great darts. He's only just got to find a couple of good legs and get the confidence going. Because that's the one thing that does Dean in, is his confidence level. He's easily dented, but when he's on a run, then he is tough to keep a hold of.
Well, look, I mean, he made the quarterfinals of the Players' Championships back in December. That is no mean feat. I mean, he's a former major semi-finalist in the PDC, having done it at the Grand Slam. And, of course, I mentioned the 2 major finals with the BDO before he made the switch. So, when Dean Winstanley is on form, he's got the game to worry anyone.
60.
Just the 60 there, though.
Yeah, around about the same time in the previous leg, he didn't set it up. It's so important to set it up now. If he comes back, he's going to get 1 dart, at least at double top, you would think. Now, 18 for Reyes would leave him the double top for a breaker throw and a 2-0 lead. And that will hurt. You know, that's where Reyes has no fear. He's got no scar tissue, as we call it, Dan, isn't it? You know, he doesn't really know the players. He's seen them on TV, obviously, because he's got a bar and what have you. But he's not got a lot of scar tissue of being continuously beaten by people, so he just gets up there and plays his own game. Yeah,
I mean, he's ranked around about the 50 mark in the world rankings, but I mean, it's just a free go for him for the next 18 months now. He's not got any money to defend. It's just see how you go, Christo.
68.
And it's only going to go up.
Yes, you're totally right. And as I said about Stephen Bunting earlier with Mike, it's years 3 and 4 is the test of time. You know, when you're defending.
140.
And when you lose, and all of a sudden you think, I've dropped down 5 places. And that mindset is a tough one.
Yeah, you think, oh, that great weekend I had where I went and made a final and a quarter-final, I won one of these things, and then suddenly
it comes back to hurt you.
I've just lost 15 grand off my ranking. Where am I going to get that from again?
Exactly right. It's great being the world #1, but the following year you're defending everything.
Yeah.
And the same with
60.
all areas of the rankings. And some people, you know, they start to drift down and you miss your first TV event, and that is really, you've got to be a tough cookie to get back. And we see a lot of players that are on the slide that possibly will not come back.
Well, look, in qualifying for this, Dean Winstanley beat Jim Walker and he beat Colin Lloyd, and Colin Lloyd is
40.
perhaps the prime example of what can happen if you get on a run of poor results and you start missing tournaments, and then you wonder how this former world #1 is where he
59.
is. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean,
21.
And Colin Lloyd was an exceptional dart player.
Christo Reyes fires one in the ball. It's in the treble as well. Look at that.
Some of that.
I really don't know why you go that way, but I tell you what, that looks good when it happens.
Well, I was just about to say, look, I don't like this. I love to use the 25, but I don't like it being used on the 121.
100.
And now and again it comes off. Yeah, I mean, other people on the slide, you know, Paul Nicholson, you know, Wes Newton.
Yeah.
You know, it's always in Mark Webster, although Mark Webster's on his way back. you know.
We've seen Mark Walsh today. I mean, Mark Walsh was a top 10 player for a long time. You know, the TV tournaments were never his forte. He was much a stronger floor player, wasn't he? But, you know, the floor form then deserted him, and he just didn't have, you know, he wasn't getting in the TV tournament, so you're not even getting that first round money, which keeps you up there in the top 16 of the world.
60.
It's tough. I mean, we've all been through it. You know, you go back to the John Lowe, the Eric Bristows, you know, the Peter Eversons, Dennis Priestley, Alan Warreners, you know, and then, you know, the people in this era.
130.
You know, the Colin Lloyds and the Wes Newtons. You know, sometimes you don't realise what's going on until it's too late.
99.
Well, look, Dean Winstanley has spent 2 hours this week with a sports psychologist poking around his mind. Must be distracting getting inside Dino's head. Just the echo might put you off.
Yeah, I've never... I sat across a table after a golf event once with an American guy.
Then you require 71.
Spoke to him for about an hour afterwards, and it was interesting what he had to say. Last 53 Dino, 13 for tops.
51.
Again, you know, I saw the tension, the dart going that low.
Well, the 142's not going, so Dean Winstanley's coming back looking at double 10.
Yes, and he doesn't want to go inside this double 10. I mean, he pins it first dart, that's all well and good. And he has
a full flag.
And he looks up to the sky. The thing about, just quickly on sports psychologists and whatever, it's all very well going and seeing them. But obviously you're going to see them because you're admitting there's something wrong. And in the middle of a game, if all of a sudden you start to think about, well, I've been to him, why ain't it working? All of a sudden you're distracting what you should be focusing on. So it's a tough call.
I had a very brief chat with Dino about it earlier on, because I asked him, you know, what is it exactly that you're doing? And he's saying that what he wants to get from it, and what this guy is trying to tell him, is Christo Reyes looks to fill this up for the first 180 of the match, and he gets one. Dean Winstanley's had one, now Christo Reyes hits back with one of his own. And look at this is a good response.
140.
But yeah, what he was saying is that he wants him to be able to just think about nothing while he's up there, so he can just play his dart. He's not worrying about what's happened previously. He talked about the scar tissue of previous defeats, and that can leave a mark and take its toll on the dart player. But trying to free yourself up from that is something that should allow you to play your natural game, which we all know when these guys play at their
100.
best, big things can happen.
Certainly.
But it is easier said than done.
No, he doesn't have to. He's checking it. He doesn't have to go to bullseye. Treble 10 or the treble 18 is the route. Treble 18 now, just a big 20, and this will be up near the double top. And he's going the 20 route. They'll be up near the double top. This.
98.
Weren't going to flirt with that flight that could have led that dart down into the treble 20.
You don't want to bust 130.
No, not when Dean's gone up there and.
95.
And again, just that drift to the 5 that we have to say. I know he gets annoyed when he hears it on TV, but that 5 does kill him at times.
The fifth flag, Christo Reyes.
Just quickly, with going back to sports psychologist, what I've taken, because I have studied the game obviously at close quarters for the last 12 to 15 years. And Dean spoke to me at Wigan, and a couple of people have. The first thing that I said to him, that you should write down everything you do over the last 7 days, or for the next 7 days, everything. What time you got out of bed, if you smoke, what time you first cigarette, because then, in my opinion, a proper sports psychologist then would look at 60. Your week and identify things in that week. Did you have a row with your wife or your girlfriend or the kids, blah, blah, blah. And it will identify what is taking you away from the total concentration and focus. So it may be something quite simple, but it may be something more in depth that is the scar tissue in your head. But unless you find that out, you're never going to know.
Ton 80 for Christo Reyes as we break off from Rod Harrington's holistic approach to...
But don't come and see me.
No.
I've got enough scar tissue. We're going back to this man, Christo Reyes. We talked about how good he was, Dan. And he hasn't let us down, and this has been a tough game for Dean Winstanley. Down for the 17s, and again just that drift into the left-hand treble. And instead of having 3 darts and a double, he may only get 1, unless Reyes is going to hit this double 18.
Oh, 11 dart leg, back-to-back 180s there. And that is real top-quality darts. He's thrown a 13 darter, followed by an 11 darter. We know these guys can do that anyway, but he's 5 out of 6 on his doubles. That is world-class from Christo Reyes. The average has just gone over 100 following that leg, and he's back in there again.
140.
Well, that little sequence has seen 10 perfect darts in a row from Christo Reyes there. 180, 180.
Well, we said we don't think he's a one-hit wonder, and he's certainly proven that he's not. And he's back in there again. There's the figures. I mean, let's be honest, the first one, you know,
140.
it could go anywhere. 19 darts is not a great leg of darts, and you know, perhaps Dino's thrown 18 darts in that leg, and if he wins that first leg, then he's the one who gets on the run. But 15, 15, 13, 11, and the 13, 11, obviously 13 with the throw, 11 against. It's literally unbeatable, those 2 legs.
100.
Well, look, I have to say, Christo Reyes and Antonio Alcinas, who are the Spanish World Cup of Darts pairing, having seen Antonio make a couple of semi-finals on the Challenge Tour going into that tournament, I thought, well, maybe he's coming to a bit of form. Those lads could do some damage. In the end, having trounced Norway, that's not going the 1-2-1 for Christo Reyes. Having trounced Norway, they came a cropper against Belgium and 65. Didn't really put up as much of a fight as I anticipated them to do. However, those two, when on form, I mean, they are serious contenders.
99.
Let's hope they agree with you.
56.
Well, 56 to wrap this up, and you would say this would be an unbelievable performance, and he's not missed his double 18 very often.
Game shot.
Well, a 15 darter to round things off, and Christo Reyes has put in the best performance of the day. An 11 darter in there as well with back-to-back 180s. There was a sequence of 10 perfect darts in that match from Christo Reyes. He has seen off a very, very tricky